Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's edition of Beyond the Ordinary Show. And I'm excited about today's call. We have Jarrad Hewett on, who many of y'all know, and some of y'all may be new to him, but if you are new, you just may become a fan. I have a feeling that you will, and follow. It's what I hear mostly about Jarrad from our audience and from other places. It's how people feel so loved in his presence. And I'm sure you get that a lot, Jarrad. But it's just this, I just feel loved. I feel love in a way that I haven't felt love before. And that's definitely a big aspect of his heart, sharing intelligence and information of what's coming through and how we access it and embody it. And it becomes part of our essence. And I feel today's topic is so timely and relative because Jarrad's bringing it in. Life in the new earth, and what does that mean, and how you decipher that, and how do you get in resonance with it, and so much more. And the way that it'll be shared from Jarrad, again, it becomes accessible, not something that's far-fetched, but you're also possibly stepping into a future version of yourself that's ready to actualize now. And so this is going to be an incredible call. We'll probably open up to Q&A. I'm sure we will. And there's some special things that we're doing on the call as well later that we'll get into, and I'll let Jarrad get into that whenever he's ready. But again, this is gonna be a phenomenal call. I hope that you give yourself the opportunity to sit back, indulge in the energy, and join us on the couch as we open up the resonance of today's interview. Now, if you're not familiar with Jarrad, let me read you a little bit about him. So Jarrad Hewett is the best-selling author of Love, Life, God, The Journey of Creation, as well as a co-author of the international bestseller, The Big E, Everything is Energy. Jarrad's a multi-dimensional energy expert who specializes in visionary teaching and remote healing energy work that allows reconnection and healing at every level of being. So he's a bridger of consciousness, an awakener of souls, and a catalyst of high-level vibrational change. And of course, that ties into life on the earth, right? And he's brought about quantum growth, abundance, healing, and instantaneous change and manifestation in the lives of millions of clients around the world. And it's with that introduction, Jarrad, that I just want to welcome you back to BTO. I'm so glad that you've started coming back.
Thanks, John. Yeah, it's great to be here. This is I always enjoy our talks. I enjoy our space. It's a beautiful audience. So thanks, everybody. And if you are new, like John said, we're going to do some interesting things tonight. We have a few fun things. They're all fun, but we have a few extra fun things on top of that. So we're going to do a lot of energy work. We'll take some Q&A, and we're just going to kind of go where everybody wants to go. Everybody that's on this call is going to participate in forming the energy that we're creating it from right now. So wherever you are right now, just be open to receiving that beauty and that love and whatever the divine transformation is that you are seeking, that maybe you're ready for. And then in part of that is going to be maybe a little bit of letting go of some old things that don't serve anymore, things that maybe sometimes we can have, we're hanging on over here, but we want to open up over here, and to really move from that space. It's time to let go of a few things. And that can be kind of a little scary. That can be a little, we can plug into our triggers, our stories, or we're going to look at some of that as well. So we're going to do a lot of things just to help everyone move into a space of really being really full in the most divine way, of filled up of who you are at your most expanded essence. And from that space, you can tune into the love and the flow, and really create whatever you choose. So that's where we're heading. That's
beautiful, Jarrad. And you touched on something that I just experienced a few weeks ago, and it was profound for me. And I'm just going to go there, and maybe we'll back into this. But I was in an awareness that something wanted to come in, and I was holding on to threads of potentials, opportunities, but that weren't really necessarily what would be in my highest or what I really wanted. It was kind of like but this will be good. And if I just get this, then this will be all right. And it was beautiful. And those opportunities were filled with so many blessings, but it just wasn't that resonance that I feel is possible. And I went through a process of really releasing all those things.
Yeah. And it can be kind of hard. You said people there at the end, right? And that's one of the things that where we sometimes get into, and I see it with people all the time where they get into a cycle of self-judgment or blame, because then it's like, what did I do wrong to create me not having the fulfillment of this situation? And it really has nothing to do with what you did wrong. It has everything to do with that there was a misalignment, and that's not a judgment. And so it's very important to also understand within yourself that what you are aligned with, that's where you will flow and you will create. And so part of it is that letting go of what you're not in alignment of, as well as now opening into the sort of bigger question that is I think prevalent with a lot of people. You and I talked about it just a minute before the call, of what is the next step? Where is my alignment now? Where is that flow? And being willing to be in the space or the stillness where maybe you've let go and you are creating. And in that moment, it feels like there's nothing. It may feel like, to use the example of like, if you're swinging from a vine to a vine, you've let go of one vine, you've not yet picked up the other, and the mind comes in and goes, oh my God, I'm going to fall. And it's not. You're going to go wherever you go. But it's all directed from that space of alignment and from that resonance. And so that's, a lot of people are experiencing that right now. I had some of the same things go on business, and there were all kinds of things where it was like, is this what I want to do? This would be a great opportunity. Yet at the same time, does it really feel in alignment? And so that's kind of where a lot of people are right now, with a broad spectrum of things. It's what feels good. Why does it feel good? So, because sometimes we could say, well, eating an entire chocolate cake feels good, but does it really? I mean, we're feeding a need or a trauma. And so there's a lot of, just using that term trauma, a lot of, I talk about sometimes trauma bonds, where we become in some way, shape, or form addicted to or bonded to the experience of different traumas. And so we'll recreate things in our life that we feel like it's indicative of maybe a loop that we're stuck in. And it's not so much a loop as just the universe continually bringing it up so that we can finally come to a space of letting go and choosing that newness. And that newness is really what is palpable right now.
That's profound. And again, the reminder of that and the encouragement for everybody listening, we're going through these shifts, but the shifts are happening for a reason. When I went through that shift and did that experience, the next day I felt like somebody had died. I went through a whole morning piece, and it freaked me. I was like, why am I feeling like everything's just dead? It wasn't even the void of the in-between of going to the next and seeing what's formulated, but really something dying. And luckily it was quick, but also it's a blessing, whatever it was, because I felt there was an initiation happening and a seeding of the potential of something new simultaneously.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's a semisonic song from, 25 years ago, but every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. And as kind of cheesy as that lyric is, it really is true. Yet a lot of times, like you said, we can feel what feels to be the end of something feels like a death. And it can even be the death of a part of us or a part of who we thought we were going to become, or the dream that we had that was steeped in a vibration of who we were, not who we are, that, we realize, wow, this idea that I had of myself at age 20, age 30, age 40, age 50, 60, whatever it may be, that may not be who I am, but that idea of myself may not have also been really resonant with who I am and who I wanted to grow into. And so everything really is from that particular space. It's soil. It's being able to fertilize that soil. Like you said, it was being seeded. And it can feel it can feel like real death to the ego as well.
Most definitely. And again, I'm so excited about today's topic, because life in the new earth, and in our community, we've been talking about new earth for a while, and it seems like we've been building up towards, or maybe even living in the thresholds of it. But there's been a significant shift energetically, and we're really poised to cross that doorway and fully step into it. And so why now? Why for you, life in the new earth in this subject?
So, so my company that I founded in 2005 was called New Earth. That was my company. And so it was sort of the feeling into the embodiment of, like at that time it was sort of, okay, there's the channel space, there's all of this, there's the energy, but okay, what would that be to embolden and embody that energy as physicalized light? And that's something I've been talking about more and more, is being the light incarnate, right? It's not about disassociation or having to, leave to be the light that you are, but about bringing it all here present right now. And we're in the throes of this space energetically where everything old really does not have a foundational. There is a certain vibrational pitch, and those pitches, everything's energy. We'll just put it that way. And so from that perspective of everything being energy, we can take a table and microscope, way out, and you can kind of start to see the atoms, and you can go through. So from that quantum space where everything exists, where everything is possible, we are in a place right now where sort of the old stabilized frequencies of what Earth has been for thousands and thousands and thousands of years have shifted. There is an actual pitch shift within the frequency of what it is to be alive on Earth right now. And that's what a lot of people have been feeling in the last few years, even if it comes on as an anxiety, or sometimes it can sort of kind of depress the field a little bit. But there is this space of everything is alive right now, and you are alive, and you are the light. And what are you going to choose from that light? And so where I started with and moved into this space was, okay, if I were someone who maybe didn't know everything I know, or even somebody who knows everything I know, but is wanting to experience how to move and create within these energies, that's life in the new Earth. So what are the potentials that we are looking at within us? Like, some of the things that have just happened within the population of the Earth, there are a lot of archetypes within where we are that are coming up to clear. Whether it's, we can go very simple and say, well, there's patriarchy and there's religion and there's all of these different archetypes that hold a particular energy. But when you really look at power, and you really look at creation, and you look at strength and energies like these, there has been a very old archetype where those energies have sort of been, I want to say, not as pure. I'm not judging it. There's been densities in that. And in this new space, those energies, it's like the density becomes so much heavier that it immediately falls out. And so we're in a space now where you can look and you can see, okay, I look out at the world and I see these things happening. They are not happening to me. Someone said the other day, they're happening for me. And from that space, what is it that all of this represents? And it ultimately is the space where we step into who we fully are and choose. And, we can look back at history and see where choices have been made at the individual level, at the collective level. And this is the space of going, okay, that really is where we're on that nexus point of what is choice? What will your choice be? What are you choosing to create? And really get very crystal clear around, even though we are in the world, we are not of the world. And I know that's kind of the Jesus saying, be in the world, not of the world. But there's the idea of that is that you bring yourself into the world and you allow your creation to unfold, rather than allowing the world to sort of place its energy upon you. And then you become a reactionary energy to that. And in this new space, this new Earth, as I'll put it, that is the space of really being in the world, but it's also being the creation of that world, all through you allowing your light to flow.
That's beautifully stated, Jarrad. I love that. And it also brings me into the awareness of in our type of communities over the last 5 years, and the conversation eased up a little bit, but there was this conversation into divine sovereignty and getting into the sovereign space. And I feel like that's been part of the alchemy of to what's leading now, of self-generating and being that, but also collectively, because you understand the ripple effects of what you carry as the individual emanating that light.
100%. And that's when, like you said, around 5 years ago, whenever we all started talking about, what is it to be sovereign? And that is to really understand that it is the, it's not the vibration, or it's not the TV signal of XYZ. It's what am I emanating? What am I choosing? And what am I tuning into? And then, if you want to talk about the structure of the electromagnetic field and the third eye and how you're processing the light, then it's what's being reflected at me is actually what I'm sending out. So it becomes this self-propelled, self-fulfilling, self-divine experience of what that is, to literally to create, rather than be a reactionary space. And that's that sovereign space of understanding my body, this is my body, this is my field, this is my space. I am the only presence active in this. And I am that I am the part of the entirety of the whole. So that energy is one with me. And from that space, I can move out into the world and create whatever I choose, rather than feel like I have to be bombarded or on the defensive or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, and this is so beautiful because as part of the bullet points, what you're going to talk about was about releasing collective conscious trauma. So again, we're talking about the sovereign, I'll call it responsibility, and it's self-love responsibility. And it just is, there's a maturity that happens through emanation of choice. Through that, how do we stay sovereign and not get caught up in the collective traumas and the stresses and the triggers?
Yeah. So actually, if you want, we can do this and then I'll talk about it. One of the things that I do, I have energy tracks, right? There's one particular one that I want to actually start off with. It's going to be the healing and releasing wounds. And I'll explain it and then we'll listen to it. And then I want to talk about that specific question of, I guess, in a way of not getting pulled into it, or how do you maintain that sovereignty? So the way I describe this track, I'm going to read from what it says here. It says, oftentimes we are called to energy work because it feels as if something outside of the physical world. Energy is, it's sort of something may be off within us and we're reaching out for that connection, right? And so it can, in that way, kind of become escape from some of the bigger wounds that we carry around. And that sounds strange because it's like, well, no, I went to energy to heal those wounds. And yet you can see in the ways that certain things play out, there can be these sort of cycles where our own, the biggest things within us that create the feelings of feeling of disillusionment or victimization or otherness can continually play out. And they can still play out in a spiritual way, but it's sort of that part of us that tries to own what or who God is or source, rather than actually experiencing that pure love, because that pure love is the space that allows everything to heal. And it's that nourishment, it's that nurturing that, you know, a lot of us didn't maybe have as children, or we didn't have from our partners in relationships, or wherever it may be. And then being able to have that in the self. So this is, as we continue the journey into energy and spirituality, we can develop a pattern where we resist moving back into the body because we don't want to ever face those core wounds, which inspired our journey in the beginning. And so that's kind of at a collective planetary level as well. If you kind of look out at just what is happening everywhere, there are a lot of core wounds that are reemerging and reemerging and reemerging. And everybody's sitting back kind of going, I don't want that. I'm tired of this, but how do I shift into the other? And it's really around being able to not only shift the perspective, but bring that love to it that also integrates. People can call it the divine masculine and feminine, but it's the head and the heart, just bringing it all together so that in a sound, logical, reasoning way, with full open hearts and love, we can all begin to communicate. And that sounds a little bit like, oh, that's really airy fairy, that's not how things work. But that really is what it's about. It's about being able to be open in a way where you're also grounded and you're not trying to escape life, but actually embrace life. And so that's one of the things that this track does. It creates a nice freeing, transmuting space where you can really remove those initial trigger wounds and kind of applying a salve. I called it a golden salve. So as we move through life, we can also develop triggers simply through our interaction with others. And this is a beautiful and cleansing energy, which allows us to release and heal and meet your own one self while realizing why you may have also created the events. And through a multidimensional awareness, reset the memories should you choose to go that deep, and repattern the experience and the memory as well. So you're no longer carrying the trauma, and you're no longer just kind of observing and looking at the trauma and saying, oh, I still have the trauma, but you're actually reformatting your point of view and saying, wow, there was a positive that came from that. And from that positive, it creates this new momentum in your field. So there's like all these new potentials activating in your energy field. And then there's a little bit more there, but that kind of gives a good setup for the energy there. And then we can talk a little bit more about how to not be drawn in.
Well, let's run it. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. It's beautiful, Jared. Thank you.
Yeah. I feel like time slowed down there. It was only like a 2 or 3 minute track. I feel like I just like got into it really long and I came back and was like, I feel like that's been going on forever. I feel like I've been in this space. It's really pretty.
Oh, wow. How'd you create that
Um,
track?
so yeah, I've got a few, there's, you've seen like the Dr. Emoto's work, right? With the, where it's
The
like,
water.
yeah, the water. And then there's different frequency plates that literally like you pour salt on and it creates mandalas based off the frequencies. So between that, there's a couple of different other kind of plates and things that I have, different machines, and then also just the channel space. And so bringing that energy forward, it's sort of layering it underneath the music, but then really expanding out. That way, it's like if you think in terms of language, obviously we speak. If we're doing a guided meditation or something like that, the language is there to allow certain parts of the conscious brain to follow along. But we know that we can communicate energetically in that same space. And so really bringing all of that energy present and then just layering the music on to kind of give it that nice little effect. While I was working on that though, there was a throat energy that came up kind of for everybody. And so one of the things that you had asked was, I'll paraphrase and then ask it the way you asked it or talked about it, because that's really what I wanted to address as well. But about kind of not getting sucked into the external. What was coming up as we were releasing a lot of that there was uh, basically fears around expression. And it's not just around expression to others, but it's also opening up to expressing to yourself who you truly are and what you really are. Where then in that place where you really let go of all of that judgment, then it's like, okay, I don't have to be, I'll use it in the parlance that we would put it in, in daily life. It was like, I don't have to get approval from this person or this being, or I don't have to have permission. I don't have to, there's not that validation seeking going on in the energy. And it really goes back into that sort of space where your field becomes so full and so loving that you drop all of the spaces or the need where you might court into other people for approval or even disapproval, because sometimes we have those sort of relationships going on that we get something out of. And this is that space of really learning how to just simply be and express that beingness through the magnificence of who you are.
I think that's one. And again, you're speaking to something that's come up for me in the last few weeks. Again, it's being in this space where I can see where even I was hedging according to whoever I was speaking to, whatever was coming up as truth for me, whether it was a channeled message or an awareness that I had spoken in love, or just sharing information. And the messaging over and over is like, don't hold back your truth.
Yeah.
Don't hold back your love. Be bold. And
Well, and I love that you said truth and you said love, because when those two things are one and the same, oftentimes we can have that sort of, I'll use the term large R reality and that relationship. Yet when it comes into kind of our small R reality, we think we have to choose sometimes between love or that voice or our truth, and expressing that. And if we stay in that space of love, our truth is never really threatened, and we don't ever feel the need to threaten anyone else. And in that, and I say threaten because a lot of times that's within people, they'll feel it in their stomachs, or that's the energy where they really pull back. But it just goes into that space of, hey, I can just show up as me, and there's no attachment to that. Whether I'm not, it's a whole different, it's a very interesting vibe.
Well, for me, this is really stepping into life in the new earth, getting back to that, because
Yeah.
our holding back our love is not serving us or anybody else. And
No.
and again, to have that expression as you're speaking about it, and not to seek approval, but rather to gift love, is really the essence of life in the new earth.
Yeah. And I love that you phrased it that way, because oftentimes if you said, well, to not seek approval, a lot of times the underlying ego energy will come up where it's like, well, then you're trying to force something, right? Because if you don't want them to approve of you, then you're going to just stand in, but it's not always from that space of that alignment. When you can offer everything from that space of love, that really is the new earth. It's that space where you are, we've talked about 5D before, in the space of where synchronicity increases, where the sort of lag time of creation, between the thought and the actualization really starts to shrink down, and where you're really in that flow. And that really is the new earth. It's this place of being able to embody and to be free and be joyful, and to realize that I am a being at choice. And there may be choices I'm making or choices I've made that in this moment, I'm not in alignment with, and I might feel discordant with them in a lot of different ways. You know, if I've made the choice to eat a whole bunch of food, I'll take it back there because I like to eat. But it's like, if I've made the choice to, you know, eat all that food, okay, it has to be my choice then to say, hey, no more of that. And now I'm going to switch and change and do something different. And we're at that place of now I'm going to change and do something different with the entirety of the earth.
Right. And that's really how we're shifting out of that collective trauma. It's by that individuated choice and
Absolutely.
standing in that light of love. Oh my God, this is fascinating, Jarrad. Where else are you taking us in New York, Jarrad? Where are we going next?
Where we can take questions, we can go wherever you want to go. I mean, it's so if you think about in terms of New Earth as well, I want to state it in the way that it really gets understood, that it's not, that it's here, that it is something that is here. It's not about having to do something, be something, and move into other than just the space of love. When you get into that space, you really literally start to align with all that you are outside of time and space. And all of those energies become available to you, that you're able to bring them into your body. You're able to bring them into your field. You're able to speak and communicate in those energies in a way that just allows ease and flow. And a lot of times, going back to kind of the old earth, the model was for one thing to be replaced, something had to overtake it. There was like the fight, the struggle. And so you had to bring down the thing that you didn't want in order to erect the thing that you do want. And we're learning right now through a lot of various different ways. There's all kinds of, I could use a lot of examples, but we can look out there and say, oh, you know what? What if I didn't have to have everything fall apart just to put it back together? What if I was actually able to, with love, move into a space and allow things to start changing? And that change didn't have to be that space where everything just goes, you know, and is awful, and there's war, or there's chaos, or anything else, or lack, or, you know, all of those things. But where, wow, what if we actually did come together and create something through peace and unity and love? And to me, that is that new earth space.
That's beautiful. I do want to get into Q&A. And so if you
Yeah.
guys start raising your hands, I'll start promoting some of y'all to participants here in a second. We'll take live calls. But before we do that, Jarrad, I want to ask you, because it's so important, the awareness, and you carry so much wisdom with this, that how do you share with your community to recognize when they're in a collective trigger and how to get back to themselves?
Okay. That's a very good question. The easy answer for that would be love. However, that's, you know, when I deal with someone who is in that trigger energy, the first thing that I'll usually do is, I mean, I'll look at the energy obviously and say, okay, this is kind of XYZ, but it's understanding. And this is another phase that we're in right now. It's going to be about a 20 to 35 year awakening shift at the current rate that we're going. That's not to say that's, you know, like in stone, but it's understanding and awakening to a new energy of discernment. And so part of what happens when somebody gets into, say, a collective trigger is there's a part of their identity, or a part of what they know is now in a magnified sense feeling assaulted or feeling threatened. And so it's moving back into the space of understanding why one feels that way, and then being able to say, okay, can I understand who I am? Can I understand why I am? Can I understand that if I were in the same position as the person who maybe triggered me, I would have probably done all of the same things, because I would have lived all of the same experiences they lived that brought them to that manifested conclusion. And in that space, can I also let go of the attachment to needing to be right? And can I choose that space of happiness or love or joy? And oftentimes, just in asking that question of, am I choosing to be right? Am I choosing to be happy? And oftentimes, once you choose happy, sort of the rightness just starts to flow. But it's a space of being back in alignment with realizing why you maybe were plugged in the first place. So I'm very big on the source of what the trigger or the pain point was, not to press it further, but simply, you know, it's like you can't basically tend a wound unless you clean it out. And so that's that space of really understanding, what was it about the collective, or what was it about the event that triggered me in the first place? And so that's why, you know, when we show the names on some of these things later, you'll be able to see like, oh, all of these are different trigger points, or all of these are ways to come back into myself, so that again, I'm in the world, but not of it, that I recognize that I am one with the one energy. And from that spatial awareness of one energy, there's also observer consciousness, and there's individuated consciousness. I am an individuation of that one. Therefore, I don't have to be everything to all people, or I don't have to be all the things that all those people are. I get to choose for me. And when you really move back into that space, it's like, oh, why did I even grant that person access or give them the keys to come, stomping through the mud and into my front door? It's like you realize that that trigger was actually there to show you something where you could regain your sovereignty.
That's beautiful. And I want to encourage everybody listening, if you're just going to come back and listen to the replay, listen to this part. There's so much right here, and inviting you into your space of sovereignty. And of course, listen to the full replay. But even if you just come back from that, I can just feel what that's igniting in your own creative power and your authority to live your life as your life, not to live it for the sake of others in a way that doesn't serve you anymore. So beautiful. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Let's step into Q&A.
Yeah.
And we have to get into a special offer in a little bit. We will, because you guys are going to want to hang out with Jarrad for the special offer. But let's start here with Allison. Allison, welcome to the call. If you'll please unmute yourself.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hi, Allison.
Thank you. Hey. I guess I raised my hand because I have a lot of gunk going on today.
What is the gunk? That's great. We can give everybody an example of like, hey, this is what
Great.
happens. Yeah. You can be the example, Allison.
Yes.
Teachable moment.
I'm just exhausted. I've been feeling a lot of like just overwhelm lately, and sort of
if I ask you what your biggest fear is right now, what are you afraid of?
I mean, money has been like a big topic for us lately.
Yeah.
We just found out we're getting a refund on our taxes, so that's really nice. It gives us a little breath.
Right.
But I've been unemployed for quite some time, and I was doing really well because of past jobs with assistance, like all the unemployment and pandemic assistance. And then when all of that ended, we're like, okay, well, we've got some time, and like we've got some savings, and now we're kind of at the end of that, and I'm like, okay.
So the bigger, money is one energy,
and we have a kid, and like I just have a lot of shame around that, and like feeling like it's my job now to take care of another person. And so I'm like, I don't know, just like,
part of it is that, what is it to take care of another person? But part of it at the deeper level for you is, what is it to take care of yourself? Now, how you've defined taking care of yourself had been withdrawing from things, I'll say.
Yes.
And
everything.
So that's just what it looks like. And so what you are coming up against now is the resistance to rejoin. And I say rejoin, that goes back to, again, your whole energy just went, oh shit. Got very stern. But it brings in that space of, because there is that part that goes, I don't want to go back into what was. I don't want to go back into what I perceive is right now. And that is the space of saying, okay, what you've done is you've given away, and I'll go back to that term sovereignty. In a way, you've given that over, and you've been saying, okay, I'm going to let the unemployment benefits create for me, or I'm going to let other things create for me. And now you've created a new life. And so now you're going, oh my gosh, I actually have to step forward and create. But I don't want to step forward and create because I don't trust all of the different energies I'll have to interact with to create. Now, to bring that back into the self, we get back into allowing the creation of trust within all energies. And pardon my language here, but there's that place that goes, well, I want to be supported by all energies, but also I want to keep all the assholes away from me. And so that's the space of judgment. And when we move into judgment, we're not only sort of flinging it out there, we're piling on in here. So that's one of the reasons I asked you about the fear. What is the biggest judgment that you have about the world as a collective right now?
Oh, wow.
In other words, what do you not want to join? And your energy field just says chaos. So it feels
Yeah.
unstable. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
what you want to know is that you're not joining anything, anyone, any group, any collective, any whatever. You are bringing who you are out into a space and offering it with value to people. This gets into your perception of people, because if you're offering it a value to people, but you also think people are sort of or crazy, or they just won't want you, or all of those things kind of going into that space, then you're going to create that buffer zone around you. And it's going to look like, well, no matter what I do, it doesn't work. Right? You're smiling because it's hitting home. Yeah. So it's okay. But this is where we get into that space, right? So then but that really is a great example of, oh, wow. So I understand, like the Beatles, all you need is love. And you go, well, but I got to pay my bills. I got to do this. I got to do that. Well, when you move back into the space of love, and I'm not talking about a humanistic love, I'm talking about that place of support from the universe. And that's part of what you've disconnected from. It's kind of like to disconnect from the collective. You also disconnected from that part of source that provides for you and that nourishes you and that loves you. And so you've sectioned off a little bit of that. And so this is going into the fullness and the wholeness of who you are as source. Like your heart is opening as your, yeah. And from that space, it's like, okay, what do I choose? And it's not what do I want to create in that space for you. It's what am I choosing? What do I choose? And so then it becomes the space of, okay, now what do I choose? And from there, knowing I am the one that chooses. So nothing else is being done to me or cast upon me. I'm not being forced in anything. What do I choose in this moment of now, which creates all other moments from which we will grow and we will grow into? In this moment of now, can I choose from love? And what would love act like? What would love be like? What would love do? Coming from not here, but really through from here. And if you knew everything that your heart wants to share with you and give you, what becomes in alignment with that? And that's the space where you go.
Did you hear me say, I don't know?
No, I saw your face flash. But that's where a lot of times we try to figure it out up here, rather than really feel into the energies. That's one of the reasons that I like the music aspect of this with the energy, because there's nothing to think about. I mean, you can read a description and you can understand it, but when you really just let it play or let it loop or do whatever, you're just letting the energy flow through. And in that space, you can open to the inspiration, to the divine idea, and to that flow in a bigger way. And so you're not going to think your way out of a box that your heart is asking you to flow into. And not that your heart is asking you to flow into a box at all. You've just perceived a box and you're trying to think your way out of it, rather than realizing when you get into your heart, you'll rise to the top of that box and fly right out. So give me a song, because there's still a worry to address.
Yeah. Yes. I think it has to do with action. A song. I was going to say, You're the Wind Beneath My Wings, the flying.
So there's failure to launch, fear of takeoff, fear of crashing. So let's just bring in divine love. I use the term creation formula, but it's just divine love beyond at the frequency level. So we're just going to bring that in. And so from a space of divine love, just take a deep breath, exhale, and just kind of shake your body out. So when I say there's any failure to launch, no, it's there's a fear of taking off, but it's because you don't know what you're taking off into. And that is the part of you that's asking yourself to understand that if I know that I am the creation of all creation, like if I am in tune in that space, if I allow that space, then nothing is actually unexpected, because everything is a direct answer to the vibration I'm offering in right in this moment. And so then it becomes about aligning with yourself in that way and trusting yourself in that way.
Yeah. Okay.
But that again goes back into the heart, because I can still see a place where you're like, I'm going to think about that. But it's let yourself feel into it. No, I get it. And it's like, when I've shared my money story before with everybody. I mean, I was in a place where I was 6 figures in debt, broke, I was kaput. And it was that space where I just had to go, okay, I had to accept where I was, first of all. So that's another thing. And that's part of the judgment we talked about. Don't judge yourself, accept where you're at. It's like the burden, some of that burden just fell off. Like people could probably see it on your face. It's fine to be where you're at. You can't change where you're at until you accept where you're at. So as long as you're resisting that space, you're still creating more of it.
Right.
So from that acceptance, then fall into your heart, and then really start to ask yourself, what is it that I would like? What is it that I would like? And if you don't know the answer to that question, you know what it feels like to feel abundantly supported, or you can at least play pretend and start to bring those feelings into your field. I mean, that's what I did. I would sit there and I would just, okay, like all of this being my reality, but what would I like to feel? Okay, well, I'd like this, 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 or this. Well, you can't do that because I have all of these beliefs that are saying, okay, but I'm not talking to my brain. I'm talking to my body. What does that feel like for me to have these things? What does it feel like for me to be in this space? Not afraid of, oh my God, I don't want to get a job. Oh my God, I don't want to whatever. Just saying, what is it that I want to create? And then ultimately being willing to do whatever I need to do to create that. But allowing yourself to fill with those feelings and to have that link and that creational sort of vortex is what will allow all of the movement to really start to flow.
Okay. Cool.
That was a good question.
Thank you.
Allison, so beautiful. Thank you for sharing so openly and vulnerably.
Thank you, guys.
And I would just
Jared.
suggest that you add emotions of gratitude into what's coming in. So allow yourself to resonate with the gratitude of receiving the check rather than getting into the limitation immediately. And from that gratitude place, go into acceptance with compassion. And so you're actually feeding it the vibration of the new earth rather than feeding it the foundation of the old foundation, the vibration of the old foundation. Yeah.
Claps on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. And you so have
Thank
it.
you.
It's like right there. You so have it. So come back and listen at least this portion for you. And you're going to find so much is going to elevate you to the newer frequency, which is what you're stepping into. So beautiful.
And I just would add to that because I could still, there's still that, I can see it right there, Allison. So just, it's okay. It's okay to be exactly where you're at. That's the biggest. You keep kind of putting up that, yeah, but inside of you. And it's like, just, you're perfect exactly where you're at. And like John said, feeding it, I love that. Feeding it with the gratitude energy, allowing it to become part of the new rather than a foundation of the old.
Thank you.
It's funny, Jarrad, because for me, what you're saying is exactly where we're at. It feels like a slingshot effect that we're all really transitioning through. It's like, oh, we're in this place because we're growing into something else. It's just, oh, wait, hold on a second. The excitement is, but there's something coming. There's something coming. And we're all in different phases of the very same circumstance of something new is emerging. We don't necessarily know what it is.
Yes. Well, and biologically, fear and excitement have a very similar feel in our bodies. And so if you are not someone who has celebrated freedom and celebrated excitement around, or I don't want to say around loss of control, because we don't ever go, yay, I have no control. Yet at the same time, it's embracing that space, right? Of really being in a space of, I am going to get excited just for the sake of being excited. I am going to be in that place, but that's where the fear comes in, because the excitement where your body is like, oh, this is new. And then the body goes, wait, hold on. Which way do I want to feel about this? So just kind of remember that too, that excitement and fear, we can sometimes misinterpret what that is. And at the same time, we can very easily redirect and say, wait a minute, there's actually a deeper excitement underneath this fear that if I tune into, dissipates the fear entirely.
Beautiful. Allison, thank you so much. Blessings.
Thank you, guys. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh my God, you're so awesome. All right, we're going to take more Q&A, but I really want to give ample time to Jarrad's special offer, because you guys are going to have an opportunity to deep dive with Jarrad and really get into the resonance of his high vibrations. So April, if you don't mind, will you put the link of the special offer link in the chat box? That'll come up in a second here. And you can always access the special offer by going to beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Jarrad27. Jarrad and the number 27 afterwards, take it to that same page. And Jarrad, if you would guide us through what everybody's going to receive when they dive in with you in this.
Yes, I'm going there right now. It's beautiful. Okay, so actually, I don't need to look at it to tell you. We're going to go through the entire year, basically. We're going to start off the very first place that we start and I'll tell you why we start here. There are 5 bonuses that you'll get right off the bat, and it's I am worthy and aware. Knowing that you are worthy and that you are aware, or that awareness, they go hand in hand. So there's a lot of discernment there. It's discerning your truth, discerning those spaces that you've been giving your sovereignty away, discerning the spaces that you want to flow into, discerning the spaces that are pulling your energy rather than feeding your energy, and not in a negative way feeding, but actually resonating with your soul in a way that rising tide raises all ships. This is that part of you that allows all of your energy to rise together. The next bonus is releasing collective trauma. So, I mean, whether, people are still sort of have a little PTSD over COVID, the things that are happening in Ukraine, there's all kinds of stuff, even just the thing that happened in New York recently. So there's a lot of collective trauma points, whether it's recent or whether it's, I'm still having a traumatic association at a genetic level with religion through XYZ or through different spaces there. So there's the sort of collective templates of martyrdom and sacrifice, but also the battle and the rage and all of these energies. And it's just being able to release that. So you're no longer carrying it around within you. Then we move into total field cleanse. That's a space of just really flushing and cleansing and bringing into wholeness and vibratory alignment with all that you are. Then we move into utilizing the new earth energies. So in this space, it's great. That's why I love that you said feeding it with gratitude so that it grows from the new rather than from the old. So that energy is really all about being able to be in a space to not just see those energies or feel that they're happening, but that they're not a part of you, but it's really allowing your body to open up to the shifts and allowing to alchemize in new ways and allowing to open to the light and receiving and being the light in new ways that allow you to function within physicality in new ways. And then there's whole body flow, so that brings into alignment. Sometimes I'll talk about the different dimensional structures or the aspects of us, like self-love would be related to the Pleiadian energy, things like that. That's the energy that starts to open you up to your universal source connection. And from that space, that's the place where some people have had spaces where it's like, oh, wow, I had this like vision of myself in a past life that it was exactly living out what I'm living out now. But once I was able to integrate that energy, everything shifted. And then the very first track is called Life in the New Earth. And so every single week for 52 weeks, as the year progresses, you'll get a track from me and you'll get an email from me. You actually get 3 tracks. So you'll get a musical track, you'll get sort of a silent track where you might hear me sort of moving the energy, or you'll hear a little bit. And you get little, I call them 1 minute miracles, little mini boosters. And so you'll get that with a description of the track. Or you can get them all at once with a PDF that is explaining all of that. And so if you go to the page there, that's where let me go back over here. I can see every single week, every single track is building on the previous. I had somebody ask the other day, if I get everything at once and I listen to like week 44, because I'm very in resonant with pure freedom. That's week 44. I just pulled that out of thin air, but that's what that is. It's pure freedom. They said, will I still get everything that I would have gotten had I listened to them in order? And my comment was, every time you listen, regardless of order, you're going to gain something new because you're going to be in a new energetic space. And so this is really all about providing yourself with the ability to open up into all of those places. I've used the example of soup before. So like life that you're experiencing now, whether it's work, whether it's your relationship life, whatever it may be, you have flavored that soup that you're experiencing through all of the different templates or programs or belief systems that unconsciously run through your energy field. So what we're doing here is we're going back and basically sort of straining you out of the broth, changing the broth with all of the different energies of love, whether it's, the second week is vibrational soul harmony. Then we go into manifesting what I know. Well, if what you know is love and abundance, that's, we manifest what we are in alignment with in that moment, or what we're building towards through our alignment. And so this is also shifting, what is it that I know? And a lot of people right now, I love that Allison came forward there, because a lot of people feel the fear and they fear the lack, or they feel the disconnect, or they feel the uncertainty. And so the more they become enraptured in their mind's eye of that energy, the more they start to feel that energy and the more they start to vibrate that energy. So the more in it they become, and the more the more they create that same energy. And so by allowing the self to move back and move into that space of what I know is love, and from that space, what do I know? Everything opens up and unlocks. And so, I mean, we get into, there's just literally every topic you can think of, as we look at sort of the possibilities and potentials for the entirety of this new year. That's what this is about, and how to, what is the new earth, and how to really fully live in that space. So what are the tools that we will carry with us, or what are the tools that we will create in order to help facilitate and create that space?
This is really an alchemical process that's happening here for really getting in resonance for new earth, but it's not, you have to complete all of it to step through it. It's like, it's this buildup, and we're acclimating and we're learning how to receive. And this for me also is a big aspect of that, because to go from the old earth where we strive and we fight and we struggle and we create and we hoard and we're in safety, and we're to get into where everything that's for you comes to you organically.
Yeah.
And learning how to attune to that, that's a whole show in itself, Jarrad, that we should do, because it's a bitch, I'll tell you right now.
It definitely can
a
be.
beautiful one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, because we're so, like you said, we're so attuned to that struggle and that, like, how to get it and how to, I'm going to reach out and grab it and clamp down on it. And when we do that, it's like we're trying to like strangle water, and it just like keeps, and it's just like, and in this new place, it's like, there's no need to strangle that water. It's that flow, just open up, and it's whatever you need is in that space. And it really is a lesson in receiving, as you said. That's beautifully put.
This is amazing. This is fantastic, what's offered here. And I really see it as an alchemical process and attuning. And no matter where you think you are in the process, whether super like stepping into and receiving, or it's like, I don't know what the heck's going on, and I'm still in the old paradigm. It's like, this just provides that stable footing and foundation and awareness and ease of consciousness, and also acclimation to our nervous system.
That's, which is
yeah. Go ahead, Jarrad.
I was just saying that's a very big one that people are, if you're not experiencing this, don't take it on. A lot of people are having that experience with their nervous system right now. Whether they feel like they're in adrenal fatigue, or there's all kinds of things that are coming out of that. And it's part of that is learning, like you said, how to receive, but also if what you've been receiving in the old was all of that chaos and all of that lack, you're very shut off to that reception, because the overall perception or the feel of the universe, even if you don't believe it in your heart, or even if you consciously don't think it, there's the expectation that the universe is still a chaotic, unsafe, uncertain place. And if you're not being nurtured in the way the mind says you should be nurtured, then you're not going to open up. And so as we learn to really let go of that, our system is, there's a lot of fight or flight there too that engages. And so there really is a deeper process of release, where it's not just releasing the old, but it's releasing into that new space.
So wonderful. So I'm going to ask a question that all of you are going to love me for. I'm just claiming it up front, because so many of us, or I think all of us, are experiencing this in one way or another. And Jarrad, we talked about this. We're personally experiencing this, where we know there's a change coming, but we don't know what's next. We don't know how it's manifesting. We don't have a clear path or directive, and it's an impulse. And this living life in New Earth, Jarrad, I believe helps with, again, the attunement process, the temperance that goes along with that, because again, it's an organic process in the New Earth that's occurring. And so I'd love it if you speak more about that, because the state of not knowing, when we're so used to controlling or knowing, it's a different place of being.
Yeah. And so where we are used to control and where we are used to knowing, that goes into that space where, from divine love, from that alignment, from that attunement, there are spaces, there's a few tracks where I specifically kind of talk about this in the ebook as well, where when we know that we are in a universe that always has our back, where we know that we are in a universe where we are connected, where we are at one, and we have defined that oneness as that sovereign space of pure love, pure connection. So we're not tuning into oneness with, all the noise and all the chaos. When we get into that space, even when we don't know the actualized outcome, the physicalized outcome, what that's going to look like, we are able to open to that space within us that can still breathe and can still flow, because it's the greater understanding and the greater awareness that everything that is coming to me and through me is in perfect alignment with me. And if I move into alignment with that space of divine love, then even if I don't particularly know what I'm walking into, I know and trust myself and the universe enough that not only will I be able to handle it, but it's going to be something I want to handle. And if there's something that comes up that I don't necessarily understand, there's going to be an opportunity for me to exercise and utilize the tools I've been developing so as to further step into and become that whole and sovereign self. And so it really is, as you said, an alchemizing process. And it's also that it's that, and that light becoming physical, and that change, that organic flow and change. It doesn't have to be harsh. It doesn't have to feel like everything is ripped from you. It's that space of really moving back into total harmony and total flow. And that, like you said, from the mind, it can be a bitch sometimes, because there's that space where we're like, oh, but I need to know. And it's like, we're being asked to really be in that space of the heart. And if there's a space that we don't know, let that be okay. Fill that space with that love and see, maybe we don't know because that's an open field and it's waiting for us to actually place the seeds so that things can start to grow. And so there's all kinds of variances of where we can be in that. But when you move back into that heart space and ultimately that beautiful expanded love space, that allows for everything in the field to completely open up.
Yeah. And I'm experiencing this on a normal occurrence now, where I'm waiting for an outcome, or I'm looking for something and it's not showing up. Housing was a thing for me over the last 3 months, and nothing was showing up. But what wound up showing up instead, in a form of something that I wasn't even considering, was so much bigger and for me and loving and exciting than what I was trying to create.
Yeah.
Happening over and over again.
Yeah. That's, and I'm in that in lots of different ways as well, where it's like, okay, this is what I've always done, or this is what I wanted to do. And it's just maybe not there. And so, all right, what am I open to? And then it does. I'm glad you said that, because it often shows up very different than how you thought it would show up, but it might bring you in a different way than you thought you were going to go. But ultimately, again, the journey and the small destinations along the way through the journey become such a part of who we become, that all of those things are integral parts of the ascension process and being able to be here now, and then again move out into the world where we feel in a place where we're not disempowered through that interaction, but rather empowered through the synchronicities.
Hey, I'm looking at the title of the special offer, and I love it that you call it life in New Earth instead of life on New Earth. And there's such a significant difference between the two.
Yeah.
It's just,
well,
it's
yeah.
Part of the process.
Yeah. Cause I mean, yeah, we can be on it, but very separate from it.
Yeah.
Or, we could be on it and completely affected, or again, created by it. But when you're in it, that's saying, okay, I have chosen it. It is me. We are in that resonance. And, what am I choosing? What am I creating? And how am I doing it? What are all the different places of growth?
It's the Heros Gamos. It's the sacred union. It's the intimacy that we've sought outside of ourselves, in ourselves, in relation to what's being created. This is amazing, y'all. The alchemy, 52 weeks. Jarrad, click on the special offer link if you haven't. Go through. So you have to get into the resonance. You just do. You're going to receive something just from that. But you've also set it up where people can either get it weekly or they can get it all at once.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want to get it every week, you'll get the musical track, the silent track, and the little 1 minute wonder, the little mini miracles. And then you'll get the email from me with the description. Then if you want to get it all at once, you'll get everything. And rather than getting emails every week, you're going to get an ebook. And the ebook is very, it's very, I'll just say it's very layered in the knowledge that's there and the downloads, and kind of every time you go back and look at the description or what the energies present are, I think you're going to have that experience of like, was that there the first time I read this? I don't know that it was. So there's very much an unfolding that takes place. And so you can also do both at the same time if you want to get all of them at once. And so you can have them and go to what you feel resonant with right now. and still get the weekly emails, you can do that as well.
Oh, excellent. All right, y'all. The special offer is there. The weekly delivery is $197. There's a complete delivery of $247, or the 2-payment complete delivery at $247 as well. Add it to the cart, start participating, and start getting in resonance, in harmonization, alchemizing the new earth in you. So wonderful. Again, the links in the chat box again, or you can go to beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Jarrad27 to participate in the special offer. And Jarrad, let's open up some more Q&A.
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, Sonia, hello from your car. It's good to see you. If you can unmute yourself, please. I love your smile, by the way.
I'm looking for Sonia.
Hi, Jarrad.
Hi, there you are. Yes, in the car. I love it.
Hi, John.
Welcome.
Oh, wow. This is something told me I was going to get called. I've been doing your programs, and Jarrad, and been with, in your different programs for years since you first. John was one of the first ones who introduced me to you. And that was years ago. So I feel very blessed today. Really, really blessed. What's been coming up for me, this has been a long journey, and the young lady who just was on, I can resonate with a lot what she was saying. And for me, it's been this feeling of uncertainty resonates with me. I know that is something that's profound is happening in my life, but for me, it's like it feels like I'm playing small. It's like I'm 56 years old, and I'm having these relationships where I'm feeling like in and out, like uncertainty around it, and feeling used and abused, and I'm just running this pattern where I can feel this pattern in me.
Yeah, it just went like right here in my head. It's interesting that you said playing small, because your energy field, so just direct all of your energy centers to open up right now. And this is, if this doesn't make sense, we'll move it in a second, but this is part of what we can do for everybody, or anybody that also holds on to these kinds of templates. So on is off for you. So in a way, open is closed. So there's a defense mechanism. And I go back to age 3, and it feels like mom, it could be grandma. But it's the maternal energies. So what was going on in your household around age 3?
Around age 3, what comes up for me as my mom is being molested at age 3.
Okay. So that's that space of love is not safe. Family, friends, the universe at some level is not safe. And when I open myself to trauma. I open myself to violation. So from a place of wanting to go big, yet carrying the energy template of, if I open myself, I will be violated. Ultimately, the way I would phrase it so that everyone can tune in and allow this to release is, when I create, I die. Because ultimately creation for you is the destruction of innocence, or creation is the invitation to someone else and their sovereignty coming into your space and basically laying waste to the innocence and the love that you hold and that you are. And so we're going to invoke the formula there, and we'll bring in that divine love energy essence. John, I'm going to go to you for a second. Just give me the very first song that pops into your head. Oh, I can't hear you. I think I
muted myself. All you need is love.
Okay. So when I say, this is going back for, where did she go? Did we lose her?
We did lose her.
Sonia, that's okay. We can, well, if you find her, but this is going back to, if all you need is love, but love is the very thing that lets you down, you're, pardon my language, you're really fucked. Like it's no good. So this is the space of, now we're going to bring in the energy of forgiveness. And this is the energy of allowing one to not only forgive, I'll say it like this. oftentimes we have in the 3D, right? We have the person and the perpetrator. And if we forgive the perpetrator, it feels sometimes like we're letting them off the hook, or we're validating what they did, or making it okay. And for you in this moment, it's not about anyone else. It's simply about knowing that bringing in the energy of forgiveness gives them back all of whatever you may have been carrying around that was theirs, that through the action that they committed, you then genetically, however, brought that into your body and your being. So it's giving that energy back to them. So forgiveness is that space of allowing it all to flow back and allowing you to be in your space. So I explained it that way because if I would have just said forgiveness, your energy was like, no, I can't forgive everyone. But if it's allowing them to have what is actually rightfully theirs,
Yeah.
that is kind of a different energy. And that doesn't mean it's one of retribution. That doesn't mean, but it is saying I'm no longer going to carry around a hurt that someone else put there because of anything. In other words, you're not going to cede your control over to anything else. So in forgiving them, we're also going to then bring in genetic forgiveness and release, not just through you and your space, but through what I call kind of the crystalline tree of you. So all of the different aspects, all of the lifetimes, all of the energies of you, allowing that to, ooh, I got really cold just now. So allowing that expand, allowing it to grow. It was almost like I saw like they do this to Christmas trees a lot, but it's like when you band the tree and then you take the band off and all the branches shoot out, or Christmas Vacation when they, but that's what I saw was like cutting that rope so that you can now expand. So it's not that you were playing small, you were within the orbit that you had sort of banded off within yourself because that was safe. And so now it's safe to expand. It's safe to own your space. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
I want to ask a question, and then Jarrad, I want to build upon this with you because it's so beautiful. Sonia, why are you crying?
Because I feel some truth. I know that that's true, and I feel very blessed that I can hear it and I can feel it, and I just know that this is a turning. I feels like a turning point for me. So I'm very grateful.
Welcome to New Earth, and to realize why those emotions come up. It's the invitation into that new place of whatever that part of you has been needing for so long. So you're giving that to yourself right now. And that's the New Earth living that you're saying yes to. So what a blessing you are to yourself, to your little one, to your mother, and to all of us in this beautiful expression. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both.
We love you, Sonia.
Thank you, everyone, for showing up. I'm so grateful.
That our own intelligence lies right there within us if we just remember to ask those intimate questions and not bypass them. Allison, I was grateful for the money, but then I wasn't. Oh, I'm crying, but I don't know why. It's like, wait, let's feel into that intimacy, that intelligence, that love and nurture and compassion that lives in us. And let's feed that to ourselves. Be aware of it.
Yeah. And that awareness. So that's what, when in that very first track that is, I am worthy and aware, that awareness, that's the awareness I'm talking about, sparking that awareness of those emotional and those very intimate needs that we have. Yet we sometimes cover them up with excuses, or we cover them up with a lot of other things that, again, it shuts down the heart. And so that's why I always bring it back to love and the heart, because when you open those spaces up, literally meridians, ley lines, everything in your body start to open so that the light can flow through you and you can alchemize it in those ways.
I love that I asked this because I knew you were going to bring it into the application and how to expand from it. That's so good. Yeah. All right, Jarrad, I want you to pick someone. Pick someone from the video.
Okay, let me see here. How do I?
Can you see? I can do it if you want me to.
I can see it. Yeah. Michelle, you want to, let's see.
Oh, welcome.
Did it work?
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you, Jarrad. I was the one that wrote in the chat about a family member who took his own life recently, like 6 days ago. And
so I didn't see that. Then I'm glad there we go.
We're just trying.
What did you write?
That 6 days ago, a 33-year-old in my family took his own life, a young dad with another baby on the way. It's not making any sense on any of these levels. Is there a soothing, non-dual way to experience and help others? see this in a healing way. The funeral is tomorrow. It's just been it's hard to, even though I feel like I'm of the new earth or in the new earth,
Sure.
this is so unsettling.
So what is death to you?
So normally it's a transition and there is no death.
Right.
I'm trying to make sense of how he could choose that.
Well, so here's the gift for you in that, and then we'll extrapolate and expand on where to go from there. He is showing you through that where you are still holding the energy that death is finality. There is a finality to that. Now there is that aspect of, yes, in the individuation, that is a finality. In the experience you're having, there is you might miss the physicality of that person. Yet that's asking you to say, am I able to, from that space of love, tune into not where he was, but where he is now? And so there's a great quote, I think it's an Abraham quote, that says, don't look for them where they are, or don't look for them where they were, look for them where they are. And so whatever pain that was there, whatever created that, there was a journey. And it's hard for us sometimes to feel like we can let other people have their journeys, especially when they affect others around us like that. And there is a space where we want to save others and we want to fix and we want everything to be okay. But ultimately what that comes back to is, and I would say within yourself, what is it that feels within you that needs to be saved? What is it within you that needs to be fixed? What is that deeper pain? And I normally don't do ages this often, but it does come up here. It's age 6 with you. And then dad comes in. So what was home like life at age 6?
It was chaos. Too many kids and no money.
Okay. So within that template of when I'll use sort of the formation of child psychology here, our formative years, when we're young, right? As a baby, you look out and maybe, you can't even focus yet. There are these beings that that feed you, that clothe you, that change you. And if we grow up in an atmosphere, and going back to earlier, the soup around us, that energetic stock is chaos, there is going to be an energy that says, okay, so this source energy, I'm saying, the parents in this space, source energy is, there's a part of me at the broken off child at the holographic level that holds that source is chaos and it's abandonment and it's lack. And so for someone to now leave you, or for someone to leave period, they're going back into a place of chaos and of a space that's not safe. And it reminds you that in a way, love itself is not always safe. And there is a wider context of truth that love is safe, but it's that part of you that's asking that, I'm going to call it the broken off inner child, to come home and realize that it is safe. But it's also that part that then requires you to be the parent to yourself in this moment right now that you wish you would have had, to create that environment of love and acceptance and appreciation. And in that love and appreciation and acceptance is the space to grant everyone else their journey, but to also be there for them in love. So you're not trying to fix anything. You're not trying to solve anything. You're allowing them to be where they're at while also loving. And in that loving space, you give the signal to them that it's okay to be where they are. And you also remind their soul that they can move into a different space once they are finished with the journey that they're choosing in this moment.
That's very good. That's very good, because the focus is more on what I need to learn from this, or how I can grow from this. And
yeah, it's looking at the reaction you have to it and understanding that reaction is perfectly normal, because it's you. If anybody would have lived your life, we would all feel that way, because all of the stories, all of the beliefs, everything that's there. And so it's the gift of, what is it within you that is falling out of resonance with the love, to show you where those spaces exist, that you can fill those spaces so that there are no longer spaces.
And I can't control other people's grief as well, because I want to soothe them so badly.
Well, because that's the part of you that wants to soothe or wanted to be soothed, I would say, at that very early developmental age. It actually, then the soothing part goes back even earlier. So that's where I would say really start to focus on, well, yeah, Margaret Rose said soul nourishment. That's, I think, track number 27 might be, but there's a place in there where you can really start to nourish your own inner child and your own self in that space.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Jarrad.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Michelle, thanks for coming on. And Michelle, again, just such a beautiful example, Jarrad, where the mind and the heart are actually working together in the awareness that you're providing. So it's not like the mind can't be involved or it's the ego. It's really this beautiful, again, marriage between the two that are working in conjunction for the greater wisdom that's coming through.
Yeah, I used to joke about like, people would talk like Lemuria is the heart energy or whatever. And I would say, okay, what if you're just a pure heart and you're like, oh, I love semi trucks. There's one coming now. I'm going to go out on the road and meet it. And it's just a little heart and it goes out there and the semi truck doesn't see you and you get squashed. So we have all these places where we're like, oh, if I'm in my heart, I'll get squashed. So then we go right into our head, right? And that's a whole other template where we shut off the heart. And then we try to solve and fix everything. But how do you explain love? How do you fix, you have to feel it. And so it really does become what you said, it's that marriage. It's bringing it all together. And that's what the new earth is. It's bringing all of you together in one space, but the healed version, the whole version of you that is no longer in the space of reactivity, that is understanding who and what and why you are. And that really allows you to bridge out into all of those different spaces because all of you is now on board with all of you. You're not playing small anymore. You're able to expand.
Yeah, beautiful. Michelle, blessings to you. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
for your love and heart and your mind. All of it. You know what, everybody, I want to remind you of the special offer. Again, it's the 52 weeks. It's life in new earth. Pure Jarrad and Resonance on a weekly basis are all at once with the special ebook that has these downloads. And the rooster says yes.
What was that rooster? That was awesome.
We got roosters happening here. So again, the links in the special offer, or the links in the special offer, oh my God, the links in the chat box, or go to beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Jarrad27. It'll take you to the same special offer page. $197 for the weekly, $247 for the full tracks or the 2 payment option as well. So
and if you want, John, so we're talking about being all of this energy, right? And how to do that. So one of the tracks is track number 17. If we have time for it, if you're okay.
That's exactly where I wanted to go. I wanted to see
cool.
another time before we ended the call. So this is, you're picking up what I'm throwing down, brother.
Absolutely. So this one is called Incarnating My New Energy Body. And so I'll give kind of a brief synopsis of what I wrote here. This track seeks to help one understand the answer to that question through bringing in the light and always as we unify the energy centers of the physical body, open and float. And that question is, what does this mean? What are light bodies? What are upgraded DNA? What is life in the new earth? So this is helping us to understand that through bringing in the light and always as we unify the energy centers of the physical body, open and flow the energy of our etheric field, our cosmic self-structure, that we open and unite and flow all of the integration points, our meridians, our ley lines, the pathways, our heart space, while aligning with and uniting the multidimensional overlays of empowerment, information, and knowledge. When I say multidimensional overlays, we're bringing all of the different spaces that we may hold ourselves separate in and really allowing for all of us to be on board and in alignment. So that's what I mean by that. That then allows us to move with grace and ease through this life as we attune to who we are outside of time and space. So that wider version of us, right? That even though we may not know, that wider version that is able to just say, peace, be still, I am. What is that? And so in that space, it really helps us to, well, it activates the entirety of our brain. So that's the electromagnetic field. It's the third eye. It's this whole how we process the light, but it helps us to restructure how we see reality. So it's partly lifting the veils, lifting more veils, but really just allowing us to activate that dimensional cosmic crystalline DNA structure, which as we start to do that, we're opening up into our Merkaba bodies. We're having those experiences where, again, we're bringing more light. And it's not that we are simply filling with that light, but we're allowing that light to flow through us and out through our physical vehicle so that presence within us becomes the presence that creates everything we unify with. And from that space, we're able to create in bigger and bigger ways. So a lot of the energies that we're talking about here, some have been dormant, I'll say in quotes, because it's just kind of waiting for the time when we as people, as individuals, chose to say, hey, yes, I'm saying yes to myself right now. I'm saying yes to knowing the oneness. I'm saying yes to knowing spirit lives within me and I within it. And I'm open to allowing that to flow through in beautiful ways that then also allow me to be in this earth. So choosing to enjoy the physicality I gifted myself with this, in this being and in this embodiment. So that's where the creation elements come to play.
Amazing. Are you ready to play, Jarrad?
Yeah.
All right, let's go to it. You guys enjoy. Oh, I'm so excited. The ripples of that song just keep going, right?
No, I love that one.
So beautiful. Jarrad, wow, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, John. This was great.
It's so wonderful. Y'all, the replay, we'll send out the link later. You can always access replays on beyondtheordinaryshow.com/replay. The link for the special offer is in the chat box. We'll send it out in an email later as well, but sign up now. Get more of this and get into the alchemy of lifting up and off into the new earth. So wonderful. Jarrad, thank you so much for everything. It's been wonderful having you here again. And thank you for all that you do for all of us.
Absolutely. Thanks, John. I'm just saying, love you, everyone in the chat box. So
nice.
Thank you for having me. This was great. We always have a great chat. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, me too. Love you guys. I look forward to seeing you on the next call. Many blessings. Have a great evening.